So yesterday what we saw was like how do we have the different options to connect with online repositories where we can store the day-to-day operations. And then we went to tools where we have seen how the extensions helps you to connect to the different what we say the application
extensions.
yeah. And then we went to settings, the various settings that we have, wherein where like just like any other software, we can configure based on our choice. And then the help section, wherein we can go to various UiPath communities or forums, and get everything in detail. And then we have gone to download the packages, and we can see how the new activities can be added if at all it is not what we say available in our list of activities.
Milan, can you just revisit that that bit where the activities yesterday you said to get from Google and all? We just did that. No, if you can just do it once again, that should be helpful for us.
Which one?
Manage packages itself.
Yeah. So see, here are our okay. If you click on manage package, you get this window. You come to all packages, and then you can see here like we have multiple options. So whatever we want, we can search by here, and then we can download it. Anything is required, you can simply, suppose I want this one, I click on install based on all the requirements, and then I click on save. So it will download it in my machine. Fine. So yeah, this is done. So that's how we're going to download the multiple packages as per our requirement. Okay, so any other doubts still here?
No from my side.
Okay, fine. So now moving on. See, in the next design section, we have multiple options that we use for designing our what we say processes. So first is like how yesterday we have seen like how we create a new project. So inside the existing project, right, by default, we have one main file. You can see here, there is one main file. From that, you want to split into multiple processes. Okay, like see, your structured design can be different for like for a builder, A block is different, B block is different, C block is different. Like that, we'll have multiple designs. So he can separate A design separately, B separately, C separately. They can split. So if you want to create a multiple process files within a single project, you're going to use new. So if you click here, you can give some name, like whatever name you want. And if you click on create, see here, like this, you can create multiple process files. So we save into different aspects and access it based on our requirements. So we can even pass the data from here to the different file, all that will come across. But this way we create multiple files, split our process into small things, and then execute it.
But why we require that file wise, each file wise?
So that's what I said, right? See, you as a big designer, okay, you will obviously have a split design that you want, right? Like as I said, if you have 20 blocks to be designed, will you design in a single place or you will design multiple places? On top of that, see, if you have in a single place, you have to finish separately, then somebody can access. Whereas you do it separately, right? 20 people can work together, and at the end, you can simply integrate it. So you don't have to actually, what we say, worry about, waiting for somebody to finish, then you continue, then your peers continue. Nothing of that sort is required. Okay. So in new, we have multiple options. So one is like your sequence. So you can see what I created is a sequence. So sequence is nothing but your step-by-step execution of your process. Suppose you have step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So once it starts at 1, it will end at always at 9. There's no way you can go from 9 to 1. See, if at all I any activities, right? See, what are I want to add? So how much are I add? It will start at the beginning. Okay, it will end here. There's no way to go back. As the name itself says, it goes by a sequence, one after another. Okay, so sequence is what most commonly we use it. Okay, next is a flow chart. So flow chart is nothing but you design as a flow design. Like you keep it in a form of flow. Flow means where you will have an arrow mark, you decide which way to go. Okay, so it will have one starting point. Okay, and then based on your directions, you design the step. So we'll come across that. So how do we design a flowchart? So basically, majority of the time you're going to use sequence. In the rarest of rare case, you're going to use a flow design or a flowchart. Okay. Then next state machine is also similar to your flowchart. So in a state machine, you will have one common node from where you connect multiple sub nodes. Or like as I said, a main point where from where you'll have multiple division to different points. So that is your state machine. Then we have a global handler. Suppose you want to design one common error handler that you can use it in every process. Then you can use this as a global handler. So you can design using a global handler. So what happens is just like your library, you can use that steps wherever you want. Next, we have something called test case. So if at all you want to design a test case, then you can use it. And data-driven test cases like, just like Selenium, right? These are the new features they have added recently. So like based on your data, you want to draw your test case, right? Then you can do that. But all this doesn't get applicable to us. As a developer, the major two concerns that we usually is either using a sequence or flowchart. Among them also majorly it is a sequence. You will also observe that majority of the time we are going to use a sequence. It's a one step by step, whereas flowchart is like a based on a flow diagram.
Milan, what's a global handler? If you can tell me.
See, suppose you are designing one process to handle an error.
Okay.
For example, in your construction, right, you have got one technology how to, make your project stable proof from earthquakes. Okay, so now that technology and concept remains same, right? So you make that as a global handler. That's your one of your exception, right? So you
Right.
make it as a global, irrespective which your project it is, right? You're going to use the same concept everywhere. You again and again don't have to go everywhere and design that kind of issues.
Okay.
In this sequence, here,
Yeah.
what happens if we have in some process conditional switchover, maybe one step has been done, second step based on the condition of first sequence, it should switch over to fifth sequence. Is it possible or it's always should go in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
Sequence means it will always go in 1, 2, 3,
Go in
4.
sequence. Okay.
If you want that kind of design, you can do it in flowchart.
Flowchart. Okay. Okay.
Flowchart, you can give your own directions
One
based
day.
on your choice.
Okay. Okay.
So in a sequence, there is no from a happy path and a not happy, not so happy path. That cannot be derived. It'll be always from like a waterfall kind of a.
Correct. Yes. You can have constant loop and all, but that is only for a particular step, not for a whole process.
If
But
if
that has
I
to end.
already have the flowchart readily available, so is it something that I can just bring and insert here, or I have to derive the flowchart separately?
Means, see,
For example, I have a flow
Quickly
chart.
design it. So I'm creating a one process with flowchart. See here, you'll have a start point. So you'll have to design. See now here you can see simply when you're adding, it was coming one by one. You can add it in between if you want, but it is one by one step. Whereas you go here, right? See here, I'll show you. Here it is like in a flow diagram. However I want, I can connect it.
I think the question was, can we call for a flowchart from somewhere else? I mean, let's
Correct.
assume any business processes that has already been done in an organization. Can we call out the processes from there and bring it out here?
You can call anywhere. In fact, see, that will become our library again. If you're calling an organization process, but somebody else has designed it for you, you can simply come here, place that file, and you can access it. Suppose this is your process. Suppose you have one more file designed by your friend. Okay, so this is file 3. You are going to copy it, okay, in your this respective process folder. Okay, and if you refresh it here under project, you will get it here, and you can also use it directly here.
And what if it is not a UiPath?
No, it has to be. It has to be with the same format.
It has to be the same format. Okay.
Yes. No other process files can be imported.
For example, from manage extensions, let's say a BPM tool or anything, can we call out processes from there and then use it in the library?
No, like what kind of process? See, your process is what you design here is like you are training machines, right? There, no other softwares will be training other than RPA, right? No other process trains machines.
I think the downloads from most of these will be an XML file. So those XML files can be read out here by I'm just
No, because see, if you have XML file, you will not have these design structures, right? So XML is like, okay, it's the extension might be there, but the way you access it, right? That is what is matters, right? So inside this file, the way UI logic will be different than the one that you get it in a normal XML. See, suppose I show this. See here. So how it is keeping a reference, everything will be different. So random XMLs will not work.
So we have to design the layout according to our requirement. So we can't just maybe we bring the flowchart, export it, but only thing is we have to design manually. So it will not just get it embedded, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
If somebody else has designed in UiPath, you can definitely use it here.
External files cannot be embedded. So yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Then external files, if it is done in very similar other tools like Blue Prism or something.
No tool, no other tool.
Will not support. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, the simplest among all is UiPath. Other tools don't even allow you to like this simply,
Correct.
You can do lots of conversion, but if you go to Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, all this much simplicity is not there actually.
Yeah. Lot of restrictions are there. Yeah, I've seen that. Correct.
So that is about creating a multiple process files within a project. Next,
sorry, Milan. Sorry to cut you off. Just a question again. Now, can we use this? Maybe not a right question. So, can we use this as a thing in any of the other processes? I mean, processes where we can call out this particular file. If we say that okay, this is a robotic process and we have to represent it in any other tool, is there a download option or take this and represent it out there?
No. Can you repeat?
I'm talking the other way around. Let's say
maybe I think what he is relating is we have designed the flowchart here and can be exported to some other level where he can showcase to management before proceeding further. Is that right question?
Yeah. So it's the other way around. We cannot accept external from here. on this tool. The other way, if we can use it in any other tool as a reference and
No,
use it.
no. Without UiPath, you can't access this file.
Ah,
Without UiPath, you can't access any of this file. And as a developer, you don't have to even showcase this to a management. To the management, it's your process design that matters. What are the steps that you have captured? How are you handling your conditions? Everything matters.
no. In case if we can export it and use it for some other purpose, not for
No,
just the
that's not
showcasing.
allowed. No.
Okay, so basically you need to have an UiPath.
Yes.
It's
Respective
going to
tools
work in the
only
same
to
platform.
access it. Yes.
So it's a standalone tool. I mean,
Standalone,
you need, yeah. So, okay. That's, isn't that primitive? Sorry.
No, none of the softwares allow. Then see if they start allowing that, right? Then other softwares will lose the market. So that's why they keep license, right? That's where the business is. Any platform you take, irrespective of UiPath, RPA, even if you go to .NET and Java, you cannot use Java files in .NET. It has to be a platform dependent actually. Because see, there are lots of people, lots of team sitting behind and doing this kind of tools, right? So then if they don't get market, they are nowhere, able to achieve their targets. None of the softwares allow it. Fine. Okay. So moving on. So next you can see we have save button. So if at all like you can use your shortcuts like Control S will allow you to save your project. Okay. You can also click on save here to save. So how will you come to know whether your project is saved or not? Or whether you have to save or not? So now see here, you can see there is one star mark here. In two files, you don't see that star mark. Correct? So wherever you see a star mark, right, that means there is some change done. If I save now, say if I use Control S, or if I click on this, the star mark will disappear. That means my file, latest changes are saved in the file. Suppose again I do some change. Okay, that means again I'll have a star. So like this, instead of going to every file and saving, right, we have something called save all. Save all will save all your files together at a single go. You can see file 1 and file 2 both are saved together. So wherever it is unsaved changes, it will all save together. And individual files like this one particular file, you want to save to a different location, then you can do save as and give any path of your choice. But it doesn't consider your entire project. It's a single file. It's not your entire project.
Doesn't it automatically get saved?
Yeah, automatically time interval is there, right?
Okay.
Specific time interval it will save, but you want to frequently keep saving, right? Now, even our website still accepts latest changes, but still we do it because we are not sure in between if something happens. So to retrieve the data, we save it.
That's what we saw, the milliseconds written in the settings.
Correct. Yes. It comes in the different time whenever the system is configured to save it. Okay. So next we have save as template. See now, suppose this design, though we are not saying that this is a proper design, but assuming that whenever you start your process, right, these designs are fixed. You have to do so much and then continue your process. So your bare minimum steps are common, right? That you can save as your own template also. Suppose if I click on save as template, it will ask me to give the name, whatever I want. I'll say like, okay. So if I click on create, so my template is now successfully created. If you go here, you can see your template is listed. So now, if at all I want to next time design a new project, right? Okay, what I'll do is, because I know I want to continue from there, click on this, it will create you a new project. Okay, I'll say demo process 1, okay. And then if you click on create, by default, that previous steps, whatever you configured, you'll get it automatically. Whatever we had previously, we get it everything as it is. So template is nothing but your steps are common. You want to use it very frequently. So instead of every time doing a copy paste, save it as a template. Suppose you don't want, you can simply click on this and remove your template. Anything is possible. It's like this. You can remove your template. Okay. So that's about your template. Then we have something called debug file. So debug is related to this, whereas we have two more options. If you click on a drop down, it asks run file or run. Now, see, a run file will run this particular file only. That means, suppose you have created multiple process files, right? Like this. You don't want to test everything. You know that 1, 2, 3 is working. You want to test only this particular file with whatever changes you have done. In that case, we are going to do a run file. When we are doing in an orchestrator, right? Orchestrator should know which is the starting point of a project. And that is why you can see one of the file, right, is always highlighted in a bold. And it is written as main. So main is the starting point of your project. When you execute as a run, right, it will execute from main, then wherever you are linked, right, wherever you are linked your files, it will go to that direction. You can change your main wherever you want. Suppose you want to set this as your main, right? Right click on this particular file, set as main. So now that becomes bold, means that is your starting point. So when you click on execute, if you run, it will start from file 1, which is my main. If I change wherever I want, I can change. But the project should have one main. Without main, it is not possible to have a project.
So it first goes to the main and then run, is it?
Yeah, so
Execute
see,
it.
you'll have to interlink these files. Currently, they are all not linked. See, they all are individual files.
Okay.
So once you link it from main, which place to where it go, that we have to decide it.
How to link that?
Yeah, we'll come to that.
Okay.
So you should have one starting point. From there. Once you link, okay, the process will continue as it is. Okay. So you, based on your design, you can change your main. Next, cut, copy, paste. Just like any other software, you can use Control C, Control X, Control V, or you can also do control from here, cut, copy, paste. Suppose, see here I have something, I can use anything, cut, copy and paste. All that works. Or your whatever keyboard shortcut works for you, right? In a normal scenario, majority of them works here also. Okay. Then manage package we have seen yesterday. So now next is this three, right? These three are the individual topics that will be coming separately. So I'll tell you what is all these three about. So recording is where, okay, just like how we are doing the steps manually, right, currently. Okay. So yesterday what we did a process and we shown in the system way to type. So using recording is when you are capturing your steps, right? System will automatically capture all this in its memory. So you don't have to separately design individually. Some of the common steps you can record it, such that when you press save, automatically all your steps will be listed. So we'll come to that when we come to individually, what are the difference between all this recording and when do we use it? Okay, so that is about a recording. So in the recording, it's like, we just have to mimic the step and system will keep on accepting the process designs. But it doesn't capture all the activities, but yes, up to a certain extent, you can definitely use it. So next, two separate topics that again will be coming is screen scraping and data scraping. So in a screen scraping, we are going to learn how to extract the data in a text format. It's nothing but your OCR engine only. So using OCR, how do you extract the data in a text format? So that is through screen scraping. Whereas data scraping is like you extract the data based on the pattern. And this is where we learn a machine learning. So we tell system what is our pattern. Suppose you have 1,000 sets of data. You show 2 to 3 patterns to the machine. Rest it will extract each and every sets of data. And this will extract your data in a table format. Not an individual text format, but it's in a table format. It will store all your data in a table.
Sorry to cut short. So screen scraping, we can extract data in any of the format, or only it should be in the CSV format?
No, it can be in like paragraph, it can be your pages, but it will extract as a text.
It should be at a text. Okay.
Yeah. Whereas your data scraping will extract as a table only.
Okay.
Because the structured data, wherever you do data scraping, it will be a structured pattern-based data. And then we have user events. So these are nothing but the activities, the ones that we are using here, right? So same sets of activities are given here. So based on your event, what to do or how to do. So what task to perform, that all can be taken care from here. Okay. So that will come across wherever, whichever activity is required, right? That will be coming across that you're going to use on a day-to-day basis. And then yesterday we have seen what is this UI Explorer. So it's an Explorer which gives you in detail information about whatever the particular step is doing. Okay. So we don't have to, what we say, have though we don't have to have a complete in-depth knowledge about it, but for our reference, they have given in case you want to customize something and you want to operate upon, you can do it. Usually it's not required, but they have given that access to us. You can access from here also, click on a step and access, or like yesterday when we saw, we can go to the selectors and we can change. Okay. So again, that selector part will come. It's a separate topic. So we'll be coming to that separately. Next is remove unused variables. So, okay, I'm not sure how many of you know what is a variable. Any idea what is a variable?
Yeah, it is a temporary storage of any
Correct, yes.
specific field.
Yeah. So variables are used to store the temporary data during your runtime execution. So whenever you start your process, the memory will become blank. In your process, we are going to, store the value. So all that when we create it, right, that's what is our first topic, and that's the basic foundation of your entire, any technology, not only RP, any technology. How do you store your data and how do you pass it from one place to another place? So that variables and arguments are like a building blocks of any technology. That's what the first topic is. So when we come here, once we design, I'll tell you how it makes a difference if you want to remove it. So what I want to do is now, you can, just for your reference, even before I start, just Google it out, or you can go to the product documentation page of UiPath, understand what is a variable. That's our first topic. So understand variables, why it is used, what is the purpose of it, everything. If you can, just have a glance. So when we take, right, it will be easy for you to, understand, clarify all your doubts. Okay.
Okay.
So next, so that will be our next topic. So this overview, once we complete the next topic, that first topic that we're going to start is from variables. So you can prepare anytime. Tomorrow we can start that variable concepts. Then next we have analyze file. So analyze file is like, see, this is used whenever you want to check is there any error left out or not. See, most of the time, right, in UiPath, you will have a blue color symbol here. If there is any error, that indicates that this step is having some issue. So if I fix it, then this error will disappear. that means there is no error. If no error only you can execute. Should there be any error, you cannot even execute a process, just like every technology. But here the advantage is, if at all there is some error, right, in the what we say output or error list panel, right, it will tell you where exactly is your error. You might have missed to observe this blue color symbol. If you double click on it, it will directly take you to that error. Okay, so that is where you are going to do analyze file or validate your file or validate your project. Is everything seen? It will analyze and tell you, is there any error left out in a process? It will never fix the errors. Fixing is our part. It will only give us the hint from where that error is coming. Okay, and otherwise, when you publish it also, you cannot publish a project if there is any error left out in your process. Okay, so next, that is about analyzing the file. Next is export to Excel. See, now coming to your previous point that you said that you have to show this design to your higher management or somebody in your management team. Then see, instead of showing them this file, right, for them this is really not required. But if you want to explain them something, what you have designed, how you have designed, so what you can do is you can simply export to Excel. It will create the structure for us. See, it will create a structure. It will tell us, okay, what are the steps we have used? What are the input and output parameters for that particular step? See here. Yeah, here is my file. If you open this file, you will see that each and every steps, what are the parameters that I have used? It will give me in a Excel format. See here. What were my steps? Okay. Currently, we have not set any parameter, so I have no values. Otherwise, for your each and every parameter, you will have a value here. So it's a very, very high level information that it extracts for us. You don't really use this, but they have simply given this feature in case you want to use it for any of your reference purpose. Okay, and even if you export this, you import back, it doesn't design your process. There's no way to import a Excel in any of the RPA tool. So it's not that, you know, you export somebody's process and then if we import it, it will become a design in our machine. No, that is not possible. It's just for your reference in a very high level. Okay. So next what we have is a publish. So publish is like, see, once you finish designing everything, in the very first class I said, like, for all your rest of the environment, like your QA, UAT, production, non-production, everywhere, you don't have to have a studio installed. People will only use orchestrators. So to send your code from here to orchestrator, right? You can't zip this and send it to orchestrator. That is not possible. So once there are no errors, right? You simply click on publish. This entire structure, right? The way you have designed, that will get saved in one of the, what we say, file. As a name is like this. Whatever file, project name you have given, right? So that name dot the version that was the last used, and then the extension is .nupkg. It's nothing but new package. So this file, if you send it to orchestrator, your process gets deployed. You don't have to send this individual file or folder. It's always this entire package that we are going to send. So when we come to orchestrator, we are going to see this.
When you publish it, is it like other programs, how we launch it in IAS? Is that way it gets published, or only it published in Orchestrator?
No. Can you? What was the first step?
No, like how programs we are launching in IAS, no, where we create a virtual folder, push it. So is that way it gets published, or it only gets published within Orchestrator?
See, this file you can only use in orchestrator. There is no other. Okay.
So this is not a final publishing, launching the program on production.
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, miss, it's the see. In all the RPA tools, the advantage is here this package is there, right? Whatever I said, this file name. So this package, right? This is where they track. See, previously, if you remember, right? Okay, in your all the other technologies, what we used to do is there also we have to generate a package only to do the deployment. But
Correct.
we never had like this version and all. It will only have some name of your choice and then the extension type. So what used to happen is you have to tell on which date you sent it. So they will take from that file and only move it to production once it is given a sign off from UAT. But here it is not like that. Here it is like they see this name and version, that version only once it is approved by business goes to various environment. It can be a production, UAT, anywhere. So there is nowhere that you can bypass, you can't modify these numbers. Just after you publish it, okay, it will generate a file in your local drive if you want. But you can, even if you modify this version, right, when you published, what system has created that in memory, right? So when you import that package in your orchestrator, that numbers will be conflicting. That's why we cannot change the name as it is.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So, and the best part here, right? If you're using this TFS and all, okay, so TFS is one of the very good software that I have come across. So there what we are supposed to do is you publish your code from here to your dev environment, right? So you know that your package is not going to change. There are no errors. We have perfectly designed our code. So now once we perfectly design it, what will happen is in your TFS, you have a separate application, not this, what we say our repository. There is one more application in TFS where you will have a headers like your development, your QA, UAT production. If you click on QA, automatically a process moves from dev to QA. When you click on UAT, it will go from QA to UAT. Like that. No deployment at all. Then that's what I said. There is no downtime required in RPA software. Within 5 minutes, you're in production, you can deploy it just on a click of a button. And that's the best advantage here. And that's such kind of feature is there in TFS. The one that we are also using currently. You just click on QA, automatically what was the latest in dev which is working will come to QA. From QA you go to UAT. Unlike in previous all the technologies, what we used to do is you used to have a separate, what we say folder created where everybody puts the files, everything, and then you have to give an instruction to them how to. They'll bring down the servers, they'll upload this processes, upload the changes, everything. Then they bring back the application. They have to do everything such thing. But here, no such complexities. It's a very straightforward. Fine. So that depends again on your organization, how they want to do it. So if at all they don't have this kind of applications, then in every environment, right, we are going to do manual deployment, like from dev to QA. So this file that we are generating, right, in every environment, you have to push it individually. Okay. So that's about design, something that frequently will come across multiple options here. Then we have debug.
So in publish, Milan, so basically if within the RPA team, if a team lead wants to know the entire project, so if we can publish these details into his view, so he can able to review, is it?
No, like where you want to review, in orchestrator?
In the orchestrator.
No, in orchestrator you can't review it.
We can't review.
Okay. It in orchestrator. There's no way to review it. If whatever you want to do review design, you have to come back to studio only. But here, as I said, see, like compared to your previous softwares, right, where you had only one approach. So if something goes wrong, everything will go wrong. In RPA, usually we don't do review. For us, output matters. The way we do, it can be in multiple ways. Like these activities are there, right? You can use anything of your choice. Ultimately, to handle all your errors, you are getting a right solution. That's it. Nobody's going to ask, how did you design it? But previously, they were very much concerned. So we used to have a peer reviews, everything. But now that is not required. Okay. So next we have debug. So in the debug, right, whenever we are like deploying the codes, we get some issue in production and we want to solve it, then we have to do the debug. Like every other technology, we also have a debug option here. So we'll come to all this later. This debug, breakpoint, everything, execution trials, slow step, everything. When we do, this will be a separate topic. The debugging itself is a separate topic. So we'll come to that separately. Okay. So basically, there is one more way. If you don't want to debug, debug is not a straightforward approach. If you don't want that, then there is something called logging. We do a manual logging in RPA that's, helps you to quickly fix your issues. So previously, in all the other technologies, we used to, like, suppose you are having some issue in the night. Suppose there's a production issue. You get an instant call in the night time to fix it or to look into it. But in RPA, that is not required. Everything will be like, it will have a complete audit trail. Whenever after 1 month, after 3 months, you want information, it will be available. Okay. So here, one thing is, there is one button called open logs. So open logs will directly take you to a log folder. If you click on this, okay, it will directly take you to a log folder. You don't have to remember the path, navigate anywhere, not required. Directly take you to the common path. So basically, we have two types of log in UiPath that the tool generates. One is the execution log, the other one is a studio log. So execution log is the log generated when we execute the process. So this is basically meant for all the developers, designers, for them to identify what went wrong. If there is something, they have to fix it. Whereas the studio log is for the UiPath product team. Suppose, see, your UiPath is not working. Suppose like we got one issue yesterday in Kuber's machine, right? So now there might be some other challenges. We don't know actually. So if you report this to UiPath, they will take your studio log from a machine and they'll find what is going wrong. See, if you look right, from the time you started, what and all it has loaded, what it is doing, everything will be given here. So this is basically meant for the UiPath team. Not for, we don't have anything to look after this. It's purely for the UiPath team to look about this product, what is going wrong, what is happening, everything. Whereas execution log is there, right? See here. This is for us. Currently, we are simply, we are not running. So this is all one-time load files. Once we run it, our logs will continue here. So I'll show you that time what we're doing. Okay. So usually the log files is what we refer if at all we have to fix the issue. And here, every day, date by date, it will create your log files. If you look here, it's all date by date. Fine. So that is about the logs that you can directly click on this and open your logs. Then coming back, we have two panels here on the side. So one is the project panel. As I said, you can, instead of every time going to folder and opening the projects, you can directly come here, open whichever files you want. Suppose it's closed. If at all these are closed, okay, and I want to open it. So if I open from the folder, right, it will open a two instances of UiPath. But I can directly double click and open all together here. Got it? So the project section is like all about getting all the project files that is part of this project. Okay. So dependence is nothing but the activities that it is going to use. So if you look right, every time that we launch a project, right, it's loading, right? I told you I'll come back to this later. So what it loads is the basic requirement that is required for you to design. So all the dependencies are stored here. So why it is stored, that also I'll tell you later. Once we come to that, this project.json file, that time I'll tell you why these dependencies are required. See here. Okay. So that's about the project. We don't have anything to do here. Simply, you can just open your file or you can place it here from external source and refresh it. It will get displayed. Next is activities. So this is where mainly you are going to work based on your requirements. Search whatever you want. Suppose you want to work on Excel, search by Excel. All related to Excel, you get the options here. So you can drag it here and use it. So this is where our main focus will be. And then snippets, as I said, that's where your libraries are stored. And every activity that we use right in our project, okay? Every activity that we use, based on that, this properties panel is going to change. See here. So which property to use when and where, that will come across. But you don't have to do anything else. You only have to give the value. Your parameters remains the fixed. Based on your activities, it will vary. Fine.
Okay.
Next, I think I'm not able to move this, but there is one more thing called outline. See here. If I click on outline, so it will tell me all the steps here as an outline. Suppose I have a lengthy workflow, right? See, if I'm in the last stage, if I want to go to somewhere here, right? You can simply double click here and it will go there. It's like an index. It's a clickable. Wherever you click, it will navigate you. Okay. And this is UI object browser, nothing to do for us. It's for all your information. Whatever it's, we want, we can browse it, but it's nowhere we don't use it. And then we have output panel where we can see all the errors during the runtime if we encounter. So how do we see the values here also will come across. And then if there is any error, it will come here in the error list panel. And when we are doing debug, our breakpoint and reference will be displayed here. Okay. So this is in a very high level. These are the features that we have. Not very complex, pretty simple options they have given. All straightforward, what we see, that's what we are going to use. Nothing else is hidden here. So using these activities, right, what is given, we are going to design. That's what is the entire objective of RP. You take any tool, every tool has same. They are given all those tools. Majorly 95% of your operations come from activities only. Fine.
Okay.
If you have any doubts, you can let me know.
These are the only activities, and we cannot add any more activities. Nothing. This does not comprise anything with respect to the library and all of that, right?
Let's see. Whatever is given here, whatever you search, you get it. Everything you can use it. Apart from that, whatever you don't find it here, you always can go and download from managed packages.
Managed packages.
This is your source. For any activity that is not found, your source is managed packages. So this is a global library of UiPath. See, if it's like every software, okay, if everything is dumped in your machine, right, you'll have a performance issue. So what UiPath has done is, what is really needed, they have given everything for you here. If you expand all this, right, inside that multiple categories of activities are there, see here. So what is required, they have given on your day-to-day basis. Apart from that, if anything is required, you can always go and download the specific ones so that you are not burdened with extra things in your machine and it doesn't have any performance impact.
Okay.
Fine. Any questions?
We may get questions when we start doing it. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I agree. Yes.
Actually, when we start, then we may have.
Yeah, because
Till now it was all overview. I agree. So tomorrow is what we're going to start with this variable part. It will be a complete first topic, and variables and arguments very, very important. Not only from RPA point of view, for any technology, you will be using both of this. Okay, the way we use here is much simplified compared to other technologies. So we'll see through that. So in the meantime, whenever time permits, just go through what is a variable, what is the use of it, where it is used, how it is used, same way for the arguments.
Okay.
Fine.
Where can we, I mean, just play around the tool is what you meant, or?
No, you can go to this UiPath website using this
Help.
part documentation, and you can refer it, or you can simply Google like this. See,
Okay. Variable and
say like variables in UiPath. The first thing you get it is always the same, documents.uipath.com, and that is what even this will take you. So this will be a straightforward navigation. If you click on this, they will give you all the details here. See here. So you can go through what is text, what are the different types of variables, all that. So in that, they'll give you every information.
okay.
Same way you can see here for arguments also. It is like this, whatever you get it right from different sources, you can every time go through. I'll tell you in advance which topic when we are going to take. So whenever time permits, you can go through. It will be easy for you to understand. That's the advantage.
Correct.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Fine. So then we can stop it here today. We can continue tomorrow with variables will be our first topic.